Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond Pixels. My name is Dan Barry, and my co-host here on the show is Noto.
Welcome, Dan. Welcome.
Yes, Dan.
Finally, it's been so long since our last show, right? It felt like almost a month.
Yes, it's always a month. Yes. But, Beyond Pixels' goal is to provide brands and marketers with innovative insights around Web3, the metaverse, and social gaming. And if any of you, in terms of our audience, are interested in Roblox, this show is one that you're really going to enjoy. We have two of the leading experts on Roblox activations joining us today. We have Matthew Warneford, CEO of Dubit, and we have Jason Steyaert, who is with Century Games, as well as a few other innovative projects. So really looking forward to hearing from them. I'm currently in Los Angeles. I've been attending the Southern California Blockchain Conference, and kudos to Van Eck Digital Assets Initiative and Blockchain at USC for hosting an awesome event with an incredible lineup of speakers. My cohort and co-host here on the show, Noto, is up in San Francisco, hobnobbing with all of the attendees, etc., over at GDC. And Noto, my LinkedIn feed has just been slammed with all of these GDC posts. So can you kind of give us an update in terms of what's going on there?
Yeah, it's been like, first of all, like it's the first show I'm doing from the US, finally back from Europe to the US. So every time our show for me was during night, it's the first time I'm doing on the morning time. And then GDC was like crazy this year. Like most of the people, like this industry is going, like even when I scroll on the LinkedIn, like everybody is posting about GDC. We had this year most of the side events happening during the GDC, so many projects involved, and even last night we had our own creators cocktails party. Jason was also there, and he can agree with me, like so many amazing people and young generation. Every generation you can see they are involved into the gaming. If this industry was like so small a couple of years ago, especially talking about the social gaming platforms, it's so much increasing in. And very quickly want to say quick words about myself. Together with being a co-host with my amazing friend Dan Barry, I am founder of the MetaView, largest gamified experiences marketplace, which unites games from Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, Decentralized, and Sandbox. And back to you, Dan. Tell us quickly about yourself also, and then we can be jumping on our guests.
Okay, yeah. In addition to being the co-host here on Beyond Pixels, I'm also the CEO and founder of Web3 and Metaverse Marketing. And I'm proud to say that we have a list of the top 100 most innovative metaverse marketing companies, and both Dubit and Century Games are included on that list. So really looking forward to getting into this session. So back over to you, Noto.
Amazing. And I would love to welcome to the show Matthew, and would ask him to give us a quick introduction about himself and what he is doing. Please, Matthew.
Yeah. No, thanks. So, hi, I'm Matthew, the CEO of Dubit, and we build experiences in Roblox for brands, including H&M, Adidas, NASCAR, a whole bunch of different brands. And I think we really try and focus on this idea of bridging virtual worlds and real world outcomes. So making sure that those brands see real world benefits from the virtual worlds that they create.
Cool.
Amazing. And let's go to Jason. I know, Jason, you're involved also in many interesting things. Please give us an introduction.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. Exciting to be here and what you guys are doing. Great. Jason Steyaert. I have started my company Sky about 20, a traditional film and television background, studios, and produce and manage. And I've worked for some toy companies, and at RDC a few years ago, I realized there was a real opportunity to help work with themselves, the brands, to help navigate this world. And so I first signed Century Game, Livetopia, all of the operations, business development, and standalone experiences, Livetopia life, and have expanded the roster of clients to Hoya for Ladybug and other hobby and role play games. So really to navigate half of and then the whole industry with Matthew at Dubit and other agents to bring brands experiences and then
Okay, so I think
I'm-
like Jason's internet might be having coming. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to say, Jason, I think we only heard about 50% of what you just said. I don't know if it's true for everybody else too, but so I don't know if there's any issues with your internet connection, Jason.
Don't think so. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's good now.
Okay. Hopefully going forward we can hear you really well. We have so much good stuff to say, so we want to be able to hear it. So I'm gonna get into, yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jason.
But I really help navigate the business on behalf of my clients, the developers, and like Century Game and Basket Technology to help bring brands.
Oh my God, why it's breaking up? It's breaking up with me too also, right?
Yeah.
With you too. Wow.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay? Am I clear?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. So I don't know, Jason, if it's worthwhile for you to maybe jump off, jump back on again or something, because we really are having a difficult time hearing you. We want to hear you 100%,
Sure.
but maybe it's like you have to like it's like reboot whatever. So anyway, so while he's doing that, I'm going to throw a question over to you, Matthew. So if you go to the Roblox brand's website, there right now there's 7 partners that they are highlighting as being recommended partners to work with. Your company and Jason's are both included on that. So that's 2 out of the 7. So I guess from the standpoint of, again, brands and marketers who are looking to get into Roblox, and what does this mean for them? And what does it mean for you being an official partner for Roblox?
So I think, look, from my perspective first, it's a big honor to be chosen to be part of that very small list of partners. And I think one of the reasons that we were selected to join that list is that we've been working on the platform with brands now for 5 years.
Wow. Okay.
And we actually worked with Jason maybe 4 years ago. So like Jason's like a platform OG too, right? So we've been in there a while. We've made mistakes. We all have, we all do, but we think we've figured things out. So I hope that Roblox chose certainly my company because they trust that we're going to do a good job for the brands that come to their platform, that we can be a good steward of their platform. What I hope that means for the brands that work with us and work with Roblox is, again, A, you can trust that we can do what we say we're going to do, but B, like, we get so much extra support from Roblox. It's been great to know what's coming down the pipeline soon. How can we use that to help make more interesting or innovative campaigns for brands? When things go wrong on the platform, and they do, we immediately get help. we can get access to advice. So it has been a sort of transformational opportunity for my business, and I think it's helped a lot of our customers succeed as well.
Okay, I'm just curious, as a follow up, do you get access to, let's say, maybe some beta type of opportunities at the same time?
I can't remember what I'm allowed to say, but we certainly get to see some things that others maybe don't see so early on.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to get you.
Yeah.
My most important partner. Like, I'm not going to, like, Roblox, if you're listening, I'm not going to tell anybody any secrets.
Just okay. Cool.
Oh, Jason, same. Did you hear the question? By the way, Jason?
I did. And can you hear me? Hopefully
we can hear you.
All right,
Cool.
good. Took out the headphones. Maybe that works. No, I agree with everything Matthew said. Also, I think we're so honored to be part of this. It is a very small group of us, and I think really, what is important is really means that this is the beginning of what's to come. I think it's been really nice that they're investing the resources into making the program more turnkey for brands also, and really helping them navigate and helping us navigate how we can best serve the audience, best serve the brands, best serve Roblox. We feel honored to be trusted in that sense. And like Matthew said too, I think having these brands trust us and having Roblox trust us to better their business as well is pretty honorable. It's a big deal.
Wow. Cool. And this one leads me to another interesting question, because we have seen this a lot, back 4 years ago when we got involved in Web3, collaboration was the biggest thing in Web3. Collaborating with different people, we don't seem to see each other as a competitors, but as a partners. And you guys have mentioned that you have worked together, right? So for many listeners, it is interesting because this field is so new. I think that without collaborations with different parties, it will be too difficult, even for brands, right? So could you give us, Jason, how you are with the collaborations, how you guys work together, and if you are also open for collaborations with other companies or agencies? So
so a lot of the partnerships that we see come through Century Games are typically through agencies. So we've worked with all the agencies, including Dubit and Super League and Geek, which isn't an agency, but they do a lot of amazing data work. And so, we evaluate opportunities based on what works for our audience and what works organically within the game and what makes sense.
Okay, interesting. How about you, Matthew?
Yeah, so we've worked with Jason on a number of projects over the years. Probably most recently, we worked together on a project for Craft and Lunchables, and it's kind of an interesting one because we actually had, I think, 12 different games involved in that campaign, and so the brief from Craft was how do we bring Lunchables into gaming in an authentic way that actually does add value to the players in those games. And that's a really key point, right? You want to be always making the experience better for the players when you bring a brand in. And so we did that in a few interesting ways. First of all, across those 12 games, players would be able to earn Lunchables reward points by just playing in the games. Those points could then be redeemed for virtual prizes, virtual clothes. Now, keep in mind, Roblox players love virtual clothes. They bought 2+ billion virtual clothes last year. They love it. So if we can reward players for just participating in their favorite games, and it's just hey, thanks from Lunchables. Super simple. The players loved it. We gave out, I think, 3 billion reward points in the first 2 months. That's like 500 reward points every second. And then the really thing is, it wasn't just on platform, it was off platform as well. So you could scan QR codes to from physical products to earn reward points that you could spend inside of Roblox. You could participate in VR experiences, AR experiences to earn those reward points. So I think it's a really interesting example of, again, collaborating with 12 different games on the platform, but then also trying to bring off-platform and on-platform behaviors together in a way that we think drove meaningful ROI for Lunchables in this case.
Wow, very, very interesting. And this kind of cases like will be coming more and more. And I love how you guys approach it with different angle and like partnered up with different partners. And yeah, very, very interesting ways. And I'm sure our listeners will be finding out even more which ways brands can be taking in while entering this space. Back to you, Dan.
Yeah, so something that you just mentioned, Matthew, I'd like to kind of drill into a little bit more. So Roblox had issued a study, I think it was, but I forget, it's like a long name for the study. So, but at the end of the day, what the study said is that 50%, 56% of the respondents said that how they looked, their avatars, was more important to them than actually their real person. So it's like, and you had just kind of like talked about this a little bit. So I guess one would be, why is that the case? I'd like to kind of get both of your guys' perspective on this. And then two, what can brands do to take advantage of this? You tweaked it a little bit with Lunchables, but I'd like to do a little bit more of a deeper dive on this basically this whole concept in terms of the wearables and people really caring about their avatar look. So Matthew, we'll go to you on this one first.
Yeah, look, it sounds weird. Why would you buy virtual items of clothing? Why would you spend money on that? And I think if you kind of look at real world clothing first of all, and there's kind of two like plot on an axis. First of all, let's plot the utility of that item of clothing. So the functionality, the utility, how good is it at the job it is intended to do? It could be keeping you warm, keeping you dry, helping you carry something. And then you've got the identity piece. All the time, people are buying $10,000 handbags, not because they carry more in a smaller space. It's not a question of utility. You're paying the majority of that price because of the identity. What does it say about the owner? And that's not just true for luxury goods, by the way. It's just a useful way to think about illustrating we already pay for this virtual concept of identity in all of our real world clothes that we buy to varying degrees. So in my opinion, that's all that we're seeing happen inside of these kind of UGC gaming platforms. People want to pay to express their identity in different ways. And then the second thing that we're seeing happening is as people spend more and more time in these platforms, they obviously care more and more about their virtual identity. It becomes more important to them. And I think, like, you might disagree here, but like I think NFTs were a little bit of a early signal of this starting to happen, where people are buying NFTs to express something about themselves. And it could be as simple as, hey, I'm wealthy. But however you approach it, that's partly what was going on there until the speculators came in and ruined it. So my kind of view with all of this is it's a very natural progression. The time we spend in virtual spaces, the more we'll care about our identity in those spaces, and the more we'll continue to spend, which is one of the reasons, by the way, that I often call these platforms like UGC 3D platforms. And I think they'll be disruptive to, yes, games, but also real world fashion, because people will be spending a portion of their, let's call it fashion or identity budgets on virtual items. And so, of course, leading into what's the opportunity for brands? Well, it's pretty straightforward. Your customers today are already buying billions of dollars worth of virtual items in these platforms every year. That will be growing. And by the way, it's a great way to start building affinity with those customers now. And so again, like another example from our portfolio is the work we're doing with Adidas, launching shops inside of Roblox and creating hundreds of different, like literally hundreds of items every single week to sell inside of those stores. And some of those items are recreating like iconic Adidas real world merchandise. But a lot of it is about creating something that's true and authentic to the platform. So I think this is just a massive opportunity that people haven't quite wrapped their heads around yet, or at least brands, I should say. The players have, but maybe the rest of the grown-ups haven't appreciated just how important their digital identity is and will continue to be.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think we all agree that this is a huge opportunity that hasn't been taken advantage of yet by brands to the extent that it could and should be. Jason, I'm sure you've got some comments on this as well.
Yeah, no, it honestly doesn't surprise me. I think good or bad, kids are finding unapologetically themselves in a digital world. I think you can give a player an opportunity to almost test out different looks to see how they feel and the reactions they get. If they like the results, it sort of gives them permission to bring it to the real world. And I think that that's what some of these studies are finding also. In the case of, bringing it into this metaverse, what we're doing with Century Games and Livetopia is we have this Topia Mall that sits right in the spawn location of the game. And so we're starting to create real opportunities for brands to sort of lease the commercial real estate within the mall. And we're starting with a brand, I don't want to say who yet, but we're starting with a brand on March 29th. That's going to be the first brand that's going to go right there where Stephanie is. So right when you walk in the door, that's going to be an actual storefront that's a near one-to-one retail location where we're selling shoes and clothing, and then there's a mini game within it where if you go, it's just a scavenger hunt that you have to find 3 items around the mall and you bring them back and you either get a limited or you get a free item as a prize. But we're really testing this model to make it feel like the actual real world. We did it with some movie promotions for Migration, Universal Illumination's Migration, where the theater on the top level of the mall was all branded Migration. You walk into the screening room and you had this really beautiful immersive trailer experience. And then we had, kiosks and banners, and the escalator was wrapped with promotions for the movie as well. So it's really cool to see what's happening and how we can kind of create the real world environment within a digital space.
Sure. And also, like, I would thanks, Jason. And I wanted to add that, like, even for grown-ups, like 2.5 years ago when I first jumped into the Decentraland and went to some party, a virtual party, I was feeling so depressed because I was wearing just basic outfit for which Decentraland gave me, and all the people wearing shiny different kind of wearables. That's how they call it in the Web3 space. And then I started spending money myself, even though I was thinking how you should spend money on the items and wearing for your avatar. Even like next week, I will be speaking at some virtual event, and I'm now spending more time to choose for my avatar than actually going in physical life. And mall idea is so interesting because we have tested out in when Decentralized was this hype, having small mall and having around 25 brands with different wearables, but it was all Web3 brands. And avatars were crazy getting those wearables and buying them right away from the shop. So interesting to see how these strategies will be turning out in Roblox. And I totally agree that UGC items are the first strategy for the brands to try out this space, and then after that decide what another actions. Which leads me to another very interesting questions. Maybe starting from Matthew, like what is the Roblox millionaire? We already have this like kind of
It's a Robux millionaire, yes.
yeah, but
Yeah.
Roblox millionaire.
So look, this was like a silly name that we came up with after we published in the last 6 months, probably somewhere around 3,000 or 4,000 virtual items into Roblox. Like we've been making a lot of stuff, just trying to figure out what works. And part of that is so we can help brands like Adidas understand these are the things that sell. Here's what to create, etc. And so the Robux Millionaires Club is the I won't say what percentage of items, but certainly the top items that sold more or earned more than 1 million Robux. And one of the things that I like to point out here, and I've been sharing a few of these on LinkedIn, when we use the word fashion, like we're all thinking like real world clothes. Many of my biggest sellers are nothing to do with real world clothes. So like over the Christmas period, we launched, I think it was 4, could have been 5, like robot characters. And you can buy all the different characters and then you can swap all the body parts. So imagine you can take an arm from one and combine it with the body of another and the leg. Hugely popular. Earned many, many millions of Robux just in the Christmas period alone. So it's my kind of silly way of saying, like, there's a category of items that earn a lot, but it's not what you expect if you bring your real world filter. You've really got to be authentic to the platform.
Sure. Interesting. So back to you, Dan.
Yeah, so that's really, so it's the Robux Millionaires Club. So yeah, so we I'm going to be looking. We should be like seeing like an update every month, right? Okay, who's actually
please.
Yeah, I'm like, that's cool. I saw your post on LinkedIn about Robux Millionaire. I hadn't seen the Robux Millionaire Club, so okay, that's cool. I love that. But another aspect of Roblox, I think the numbers are like there's over 3 billion messages sent every single day, right? And I think the average player spends like around 2.5 hours on the platform every day. So I think for brands and marketers who are they're starting to get their heads around the space and what Roblox is, like if you're comparing that to like TikTok or YouTube or whatever, it's a dramatically higher number and much more interactive. So how does those numbers, those statistics then translate into how you are creating experiences for brands? And I'll let either of you can start with that. Matthew, I think you were ready to go. So
yeah, look, it's the reason why I'm pausing is it's kind of an interesting challenge right now. I think we all recognize Roblox is this big thing, and it's got lots of players there, great momentum. But there's this sort of weird question around, how do I measure ROI? Right? How do I know if it's worth being in the platform? And so early days, let's say a couple of years ago, everyone was happy with the amazing press release, the first blah blah on Roblox, and like 10 million visits or whatever it was. And let's face it, the reality is they're typically just vanity metrics. They don't mean anything to the business that's investing into the platform. And so kind of the challenge that I think a lot of us are circling around now is how do we evidence actual ROI? So one of the reasons why I talk about retail a lot and the work we're doing with Adidas is it's genuinely it's making money, right? It's ROI in the form of dollars. So it's super straightforward. I talk about like the Lunchable stuff that we're doing, where we're enabling them to connect what happens inside of the platform to off platform. So that's getting kind of ROI in the form of building data and a connection with those people outside of the platform. And so I think the reality is we're still in the early stages of figuring out ROI from immersive experiences. And I like to think that all of us that are here would think immersive experiences are an obvious growing area that will continue to get bigger and bigger. Brands should follow where consumers spend time. But figuring out that ROI piece and what all these giant numbers mean, we're in the earliest stages of doing that. But I think we're starting to see it. Again, Lunchables, Adidas, two good examples of different ways of trying to accomplish that.
Yeah, I agree with that. We are in very early stages. I think it's also, you know, what the ultimate goals are and objectives are for the brands. I mean, that immediate return on investment is hard to judge at this point. Is the goal to have like that immediate quick marketing and media campaign? And if that's the case, I would sort of compare your strategy on how much money you're spending elsewhere. I think the CPMs are very comparable, if not a lot better on Roblox than they are on anywhere else. And so if you're going to spend the money anyway, go where the kids are. We have great analytics to be able to measure who's in what experience, how long, and all the other measurements that you need. And then most importantly, do it in the most organic way. I think, we saw it with free-to-play mobile games also. It's, one thing that I learned when I was making this game for Ty Warner and Ty Beanie Boos was 90% of the game, in a sense, needs to be what's already been done before. Every time you iterate on that game, change it 5 or 10%. Bring in something new that the players may like. And if they don't, you can always rely on the things that they do like. So when we work with brands, I think it's not only coming up with a unique experience, but looking at should it be a tycoon? Should it be a runner? Should it be a role play game? Like, how do we do this in a way that really makes sense? And then how do we organically put their product into it? I think a lot of times players don't want to be sold something. But they do, but they are really interested in participating in a branded experience, whether it's an integration or a standalone experience, if they have some affinity to the brand. And then of course, like Matthew was saying too, like start now. This is the time. We're in the early stages. However, with e-commerce coming out, sometime in the next 12 to 18 months, I know that Roblox is working on that in the future. Start now, start testing it and figuring out the best strategy, and then having that 12 to 18-month runway.
I agree with you totally, which kind of leads me to a very interesting question. I think many listeners at every brand or agency are having this. So in the beginning, when brands started experimenting in Roblox, for many brands, it was not accessible because of the pricings and costs. We are openly talking in our show. It's something not to hide. That's creating your own game, supporting it and managing it. It might be very costly and not attainable by many companies, right? And then we've seen like many examples right now, brands doing it cost effectively. Like both Matthew and Jason have this experience. And I wanted to ask a question about renting game versus buying or building the game, right? I will go with Jason because like everybody is like asking, okay, we are telling brands, okay, you should try this space, you should come to this space, but not many people talk about budgets, pricing, and what they should expect, right? And then for many people, creating a game and moving into gaming direction is totally new hurdle in their brains because all the marketing departments are used to do the marketing in traditional channels, in social media and etc. And we are also like digital age people, right? So what will be your intake and recommendation, Jason, to the brands? Because with Livetopia, you have seen many short-term brand integrations. And what you would recommend to the brands or agencies who are just starting now? What should be the best strategy for them to move forward, renting versus buying or building the game from the scratch?
Yeah, I think it comes down to what are your goals? Like, that's the bottom line. Do you want to, do you have the appetite for a minimum of a 12-month runway, 12 to 18 month, 2 years, or is this going to be a marketing campaign? If it's a marketing campaign, I would suggest an media campaign, I would suggest an integration, because you can, whether you're sort of renting or leasing the space in a game that has 2000 CCU or something like Livetopia, which is, 16 to 25 million unique monthly active users, we can put that in front of players, a lot of players, and design it in a way that has multiple brand touch points. So we can get over 200 million impressions over a 4-week period, and that's pretty valuable.
Yeah.
So I think it really comes down to what your ultimate goals and strategies are. And then, take it from there. And I don't think it necessarily needs to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars or $1 million. I think that's what a lot of people say, it's so expensive to get into it. It doesn't have to be. And I have a client, Toya, who makes the Miraculous Ladybug game, and they're really good at this crawl, walk, run, sprint phasing. So don't spend all of your money at once. Spend it, build that experience. Use Roblox as a huge advantage with their ad network, which is incredibly powerful and successful, and you're really just paying for those portals into the game. And then really iterate on it and keep it going, and then activate it over time. So if you have what items or things you're going to release over a 12-month period, or different milestones you want to hit, use this as an advantage and use this as a platform where maybe it's not going to be the top of the leaderboard for 12 months straight, but when you have that item that you want to release, that's when you invest back in your game, and that's when you bring the community back together. And so I really think it's more, you have to think about it as a strategy more than just like, hey, we should be in Roblox because the kids are there.
Yeah, I love the point of if you are running marketing campaign for specific short-term period, just partner up with the games. But if you are just kind of want to have your own game for longer periods of time, that's the way to go. And what about you, Matthew? What you also have both experiences happening at so.
Yeah, look, I think Jason's done a really good job of summarizing. I think probably all I can add to that is generally, so we build a lot of games for clients, and we build a lot of experiences or spaces. And I would say most brands are not in the games business. And really what I mean there is most brands should not be building their own experience that has to be updated, every week, every couple of weeks. That's tough. That's tough to do well. So I would say probably 70% of the work we do is bringing brands into existing popular games. Then after that, we do a lot of work where we might create an experience for a brand, but look to reactivate it at strategic times throughout the year. In exactly the same way you might do real world experiential marketing. You might go to Times Square, put an event on, expect it to last a certain amount of time, and then you might reactivate that same experience somewhere else in the country in the future. And then, of course, you've got the final group, which are those who have the appetite and the ability to actually operate almost as a games business. But I think for the majority, that isn't actually the aspiration, to be in the games business.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
so
And
interesting.
sorry, and to kind of add on that, I think there's a combination of both.
Yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
you can absolutely have your own game if that's the plan, but then you can also help, market that same brand or that experience in other experiences, and then of course along with the Roblox ad network. So you can kind of have this 360 campaign in a way where it hits all the different areas, but then you can always fall back on your own experience over time as the business continues to evolve. But Matthew said it right. Most of these companies, they're not gaming companies.
Yes.
A clothing
That's
company, unless they want to be in the gaming business, I wouldn't try to have a game strategy unless you work with a company like Dubit or us or whoever it might be to really help strategically get your company aligned in this space.
Totally agree with you. And very quick question, and back to you, Dan. Do you had a case that brand was coming and doing some short-term marketing campaign, partnering with different games, and then they liked the space so much they came back and decided they wanted their own game, fully branded experience? Like, did you have any type of this case before, or it never happened?
We've certainly found, I would say maybe 80% of the customers that have done something in Roblox have at the very least continued to invest,
Wow.
if not. And in a lot of cases, that might have gone from a small-ish, let's say sub $100,000 investment in year one. It's not even that unusual for that to end up being over $1 million by year 2 or 3, because it works, right? And I know I'm saying we can't measure the ROI easily yet, but we're getting there. But people are investing more because they're seeing it work. They're reaching large numbers of people. So not necessarily always going from integration to own game, but I'm seeing a lot of repeat reactivations and reinvestments in the platform.
Interesting.
So if you're getting questions from brands and marketers as to what should they be allocating in terms of budgets for either of those two options, how do you usually reply to them? How do you respond to that?
Yeah.
Put you on the spot, guys.
Like Jason said it before, but like, what are the objectives? So it has to start from what are you trying to accomplish, and then build out from there. So look, the reality is, we've done things in Roblox for tens of thousands of dollars, and for things where the budgets are over $1 million. And of course, all of this is that it depends on the aspiration, the goal. And it's not a rule of thumb that integrations are cheaper or integrations are more expensive. You have to think about, look, what do I need to accomplish? And then what's the best way to try and accomplish that? And is that an appropriate cost to achieve that outcome? But please don't think of Roblox as this, you've got to spend $1 million or don't bother. And equally, it's not you've got to spend $300,000 or don't bother. There are solutions at lots of different price points with different pros and cons.
Yeah, and I can add on to that too. I think it's really important to talk through the options and be honest about it. And I know that that's something that we really pride ourselves for. We're not in it just to make money. We're in it to really advise and to be strategic about it. And there have been conversations where I'm like, look, I genuinely don't think this is the right time for you. As much as I would love the business, I can't say that you should do this. And you really got to think it through, and you got to make sure that within your company also that you're aligned with all the different stakeholders, because when I was over at this toy company, MGA, I was working across media and marketing and licensing and C-suite and PR and everything to sort of make sure that this was what everybody wanted to do. And fortunately it was a company objective. So I've seen it from that side also. And I think that that's really important to make sure that, you have this plan set in place, and then you stick to it, whatever that plan is.
Yep. Good. Appreciate that. We get those questions very often, so appreciate you guys kind of addressing that. So, Matthew, you are so good at coming up like we talked about before, like the Robux millionaires, and another theme that I've seen you do on some of your LinkedIn posts is the third wave of UGC distribution. So, or no, not distribution, but disruption. But could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah. Look. So thank you. The observation here is, if we kind of look at the history of the internet over the last sort of 20-ish years, is we've been through 3 major shifts, or we're in the 3rd shift now, of user-created content. So when the internet first came along, web browsers, very basic, slow bandwidth. So we saw the rise of user-created text. So it could be blogging, Twitter, etc. And
Even
so
Facebook
suddenly,
in the early days. So yeah.
Facebook, absolutely. And so suddenly, we as consumers, we're no longer just choosing, do I read a newspaper or a magazine? It was now all of this stuff on the internet and newspapers or magazines. And of course, it turns out that competition was hugely disruptive. Kind of fast forward 10-ish years, right? And now bandwidth is better. Suddenly the cell phone comes out, and now any of us can film content wherever we are. And so we see the rise of platforms like YouTube and TikTok. So it's UGC, user-generated content video, right? And of course, we're all very familiar with the impact that's had on broadcasters. We know young people are watching kind of 50, 60, 70% less TV than they were 10 years ago, depending on the cohorts, blah, blah, blah. What we're seeing now with the rise of platforms like Roblox and Fortnite is I think we're in the beginning stages of this kind of UGC 3D. And I use the word 3D specifically to avoid games, because I don't think it's just about games. And critically here, by the way, in the same way that the UGC video wave, YouTube started before the cell phone was really a big deal. But it was accelerated by the rise of the cell phone, better cameras, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
We'll see that UGC 3D is accelerated by generative AI, because suddenly it's going to make it 10 times easier to create 3D content, to write code, to build compelling experiences. And so that opens up way more creators. And so the important thing to note about all of these kind of UGC waves, they all have the basic same flywheel. Creators create content. Content attracts consumers. Consumers mean more money, whether in the form of ad dollars or direct spending. Money attracts more creators. And so that's what we've been seeing for a while now with Roblox. And of course, the brand dollars that have been coming in have actually been accelerating that flywheel by attracting more creators into the platform. And so that's how I'm viewing the world today. We're at this third wave of user-generated content. And it's one of the reasons why I talk a lot about retail and shopping in there. And Jason touched on the idea earlier of kind of e-commerce or commerce coming into Roblox, selling physical items. So again, the way I would think of this is we had e-commerce 20 years ago with Amazon. We then had social commerce, kind of starting around buying from influencers and blah, blah, blah. And we're now at the beginning of immersive commerce. So if you imagine a world where my theory is right and this flywheel keeps spinning and platforms like Roblox and Fortnite eat into the 3 billion people who play games regularly, and it keeps growing up to 1 billion plus people. Those people are now not spending time in traditional mobile games. They're spending it inside of Roblox. That's very disruptive to the games industry overall. And I think we're starting to see some of that with the big layoffs around the industry. But then secondly, there's a whole new wave of people who are spending more time in there that care more about their digital identity. And so we'll see the rise of virtual fashion too. And so to me, all of these things are linked.
Oh, very interesting point. And last part was very interesting for me. And I wanted to go with Jason with this question. You mentioned that like Fortnite and Roblox are disrupting also gaming industries, right? There are so many small indie game studios and developers. And since like both you and we also actively working with lots of game studios and developers, do you, Jason, see like more game developers and creators are coming for Fortnite and Roblox and kind of abandoning mobile game development? Like if we see this, because we have a couple listeners, game developers, and would be interesting to see if you see any changes in the game industry and any disruptions and like people moving from mobile game development to Roblox or Fortnite. So
yeah, I don't know if I can answer whether more people will or not. I don't know, enough about that, so I don't want to comment. I do see the rise in the number of people interested in Roblox and Fortnite, for sure. I think it's up to a studio to determine if that's something they want to do. And you can, as a traditional developer, you can dip your toes into Roblox and Fortnite under sort of an alias. You don't have to publish it as
Yeah.
EA. You don't have to publish it as King. You can publish it as John Smith 21 if you want, just to see how it all happens and how it all works. But traditionally, if you look at the most successful games on Roblox, they were built by a couple people in a basement, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a multi-billion-dollar company doing this. In fact, those companies will likely struggle a lot more than the 18-year-old kid who's been on Roblox for 6 years and is so dialed into the Discord community that they can get all their friends to try the games, and they build this Discord channel, and their games blow up. You saw it with Obby, but you're on a bike, overnight success. You saw it with Blade Ball,
Yeah.
overnight success. I mean, these are, and so many others, and these are just a couple individuals that are making more money than I'll probably make in a lifetime. So
Wow.
I think that I think it is a place for indie developers, but I do think that some of these studios should go into this space, and they should be trying to compete and or build experiences using the latest and greatest technology that Roblox has to offer. Because the future really is these UGC platforms, and Roblox is the leader in that by a long shot. And I mean, I haven't really done any work actually in Fortnite, but I'm interested in Fortnite. I think it's a competitor. I've honestly just been all in on Roblox. I think Roblox is the leader, and it's in many ways the future. And I really believe in them as a company. So that's sort of the area that I've been in.
Very interesting. Messi, would you like to add something on this topic?
No, look, all I would say that I think is exciting here, and again, if you think about these as UGC platforms, similar to YouTube, etc., yes, there are the people that Jason mentioned that are earning fantastic amounts of money, but it's also thrilling that there are small teams that are earning a perfectly, whatever the number is in your country, whether it's $30,000 a year, $100,000 a year, there's a lot of people earning a living right on these platforms, and that's super exciting, because what that means is we now get new types of games being created that would have never been created by a traditional publisher because they were never viable before. And that's what like YouTube and TikTok is, right? There's amazing stuff on there that would have never been published by my home country, the BBC, because it would have appealed to enough people.
Interesting.
And so that's what's awesome about these platforms and why they're so difficult for the traditional big teams to compete with, because they bring so much more choice for each individual kind of niche or interest or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and I think also people think that you have to spend a lot of money to build these games. You don't. You just have to have a good idea, and you have to make something that the audience wants and the players want to do. And it really is a developer first community, which I think is great. So you don't need to be a $1 billion company. You don't need to have $5 in your pocket. You could be anywhere in between. Anybody around the world can do this. And I've been inspired by so many people, like I said, when I was at RDC 2 years ago, I looked around and I was like, everybody here is way smarter than I am. They are all the best of the best. And I was like, me just meeting people was making me nervous and anxious because I wanted to know what they were doing. And so I think whoever you are, whether you are that big, publicly traded company, or you are somebody who just wants to be in the space, I say go for it.
Amazing.
Oh. Well, we're this I can't believe it's already been 55 minutes. It's like this has been a really, really cool conversation. We have more questions, but for the sake of our audience, we'll kind of not ask all of them because it may go 2 hours. So, but I think I'd like to close it by having each of you just giving us any kind of an update in terms of what are you working on, what are some of the initiatives that you're seeing in the marketplace, that you're working on, et cetera, that you would like to mention and talk about. Matthew, we'll go over to you first.
So look, we are making a lot of virtual clothes. So I would just say, look, follow me on LinkedIn. I'm posting interesting stuff on there all the time about virtual merchandise. I've gone down the rabbit hole. I'm finding it fascinating. Check out some of the stuff we're doing with Adidas. There's some really, really cool merch coming out over the next couple of weeks. Wow. But yeah, I think it's super cool. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you've got your network of 3D stores too, right?
Yes, yeah. So we have dozens and dozens of stores in many different popular games. We then create items, we sell them through those stores, and of course we then get the data that we learn what sells, what do people try on, what do they look at, all of that kind of stuff. And of course that then informs what do we create next. We kind of joke and say a lot of what we're doing is a bit like Moneyball for digital fashion, right? We're saying, how do we bring a data first approach to creating digital clothes?
Cool. And that has to be so helpful. Like if you start working with a brand that's relatively new in the space, the fact that you have all this data and you can kind of steer them into the right direction in terms of, you maybe don't do this, but if you do this, you're probably going to have some pretty good success.
Look, I can tell you what tens of millions of players on the platform wear, what's trending, where the niches are. You know, we've seen, what can I say? We've seen 4x. So we've increased the revenue per item that we create fourfold within 2 months just by using data to get smarter at what we create. We return that investment quite quickly now.
Cool.
Very, very interesting.
Same, Jason, over to you. Same question. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that I'm, personally very excited about is the mall, Topia Mall. I think it has huge potential, not only as an individual experience, but to be able to work with, Matthew and other companies creating UGC items that we can bring into that. I mean, in January, there were 5.2 million organic entries into the mall in 4 weeks. And that's without promoting the mall at all. And so, yes, it's going to have some fluctuation, but the minute we start promoting that and promoting brands within it, and we have multiple brands going in there where you may not know that another brand was there, I think that's going to be a huge advantage that hasn't really been done on such a large scale before. From that, we can then get creative on how we, can possibly portal people around and use the Roblox ad network to connect it all together. But I think, having a place where brands can have a residency almost to be able to sell these items and to be able to, have consumer engagement within Roblox is great. I think music is still very interesting. It's been something that we've been talking about a long time, and we're slowly working on a concept here. But I would say, whether it's Livetopia or Metro Life or Toya or Basket, some of those games that I represent, I mean, please reach out. I'm here as a resource. Happy to just have a conversation about this. You can reach me on LinkedIn or you can email me, jason@skylightmediagroup.com. I look forward to working with everybody. And I think that that's kind of cool how I positioned what my business is like, it's me, myself, and I, and trying to work with all the different companies who specialize in various things so we can bring us all together. And that's frankly what I love about the Roblox community and what we do is we truly are working on this together. So it's exciting to see what the future holds.
Cool. Well, you guys have both been really awesome, and really appreciate you taking the time to give us your expertise and insights into the whole Roblox community. And and you're quite you're right on point there. I think Jason, it is this growing community, and it's like everybody's trying to like help everybody be successful in it.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to watch, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So thanks again for joining us. You weren't able to give us a connection. So Matthew, if somebody's looking to connect with you, what's the best way for them to find you?
Either on LinkedIn or just Matthew at Dubit, which is spelt Dubit and then .io. So Matthew at Dubit.io, or just hit me up on LinkedIn.
All right. Cool.
Okay, cool. Okay, so just quickly wanted to mention, and thanks for coming in. And I love the Roblox communities. That's what we do also at MetaView, like working with over 55 studios around the world, hosting their games on our marketplace and promoting them. So yeah, like interesting how this field is developing. And what I can like openly say while talking with so many people, it's the UGC year 2024, like e-commerce, UGC, and immersive commerce. So that's I could say, since we are still in the end of the Q1, it can be like year of the UGC items. So yeah, back to you then.
Okay, so so again, echoing Noto, thanks everybody for joining us today. Our next Beyond Pixel show is going to be on April 18th, and we can't divulge yet who the guests are, but it's going to be really exciting. So make sure you tune in. We'll be sending everybody who's watched this show and who had signed up information on that.
And also, like before we close down, we would like to have the special announcement that first time in Beyond Pixels history. In June at AWE Long Beach, which is the largest AR XR VR conference, which is joined by both hardware, software companies, startups, brands, and creators. We will be having our first live show during the conference, and you are all invited. We will fit the 70 people, and we'll be also coming up with many interesting details. And also, like you, all the listeners, will have opportunity to get 20% discount if you are watching our show and if you are our subscribers and listeners on the tickets. And yeah, just want to say it was one of the best conferences I attended last year, with lots of value. And yeah, would be happy to have you guys also there, whoever will be in Los Angeles, to see everybody personally. And yeah, until the next show, and I will ask our executive producer to give us a quick video about this conference, which is happening in Los Angeles in June, and we are ready to go.
Best partnerships we've got came out of AWE, whether it was hardware providers, software providers. We've got a lot of really great partnerships off the back of it. The likes of Meta and Magic Leap and Euphoria. A lot of these partnerships kind of originated from conversations we had at AWE over, well, nearly the last 10 years.
This is the place you can meet people physically, and you can have these partnerships, you can have these meetings, and this is impressive. We just talked to Reactive Reality, for example. They do the try-on feature for the applications and the web, and we already talked about the partnerships and how we can integrate their technology into our projects. And that is what is AWE for me. It's about the partnerships, it's about relationships and being together in this, you know?
We helped already to meet new people and find new potential customers and partners. It's great.
Okay. Thank you.
Not sure what happened there, but again, thank you, everybody. And until our next show, Beyond Pixels.
Beyond Pixels.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.